Morning.
Good morning.
So apologies we've got from
Councillor Gareth Davis as well and Councillor David Williams.
Thank you. Everybody hearing me okay? Right, before I go on any further, I just want to welcome Rachel. Rachel, are you there?
Hello, Chair. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Welcome to our scrutiny. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank
I'd
you.
also like to thank Hugh Irving for the work that he's done in the past on our group, and wish him well on his other scrutiny. I'm not sure which one he's gone to.
Communities.
Communities.
He
Okay.
replaced me, yeah.
Yeah. I've got no urgent matters. Any declarations of interest?
Chair, I have personal interest for the, where are we? The Partneriaeth Diogelwch Cymunedol. I droi i'r Gymraeg rwan. Mae gen I diddordeb personol yn Partneriaeth Diogelwch Cymunedol Rhif 6 fel ynad heddwch.
I got that, yeah.
Okay, you might have missed that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you okay, Chair? Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thank you. So I'm going to skip the minutes now. And we're going to go to item 5. And we're going to receive a presentation from Tom Barham. Are you there, Tom?
Chair, if I could just
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Just before we bring Tom in, if I could just obviously introduce the item very, very briefly, and then I'll hand over to Tom to take the presentation. I'd just like to say that we have forged some pretty good working relationships with the Services Council over the years, and if the last 18 months or so has taught us anything, it is that we need to work as one sort of harmonious group between the public sector and the third sector in order to effectively deliver what we need to our residents. And that's basically the outline of what Tom will be highlighting. Is that you can see on the agenda the three elements: the vision, the working relationship, and how we're going to take this forward. So I think that's probably all I just wanted to say as a very brief introduction, apart from just to formally introduce Tom. Tom Barham is the relatively newly appointed. I think this is certainly your first formal Denbighshire appearance, I think, Tom. Chief, I can never remember your title, Chief Officer or Chief Executive Officer?
I'm Chief Officer. My predecessor was Chief Executive Officer.
That's right. I knew there was some difference in the title. Tom and I worked together in another life a few years ago, so we are aware of each other. So I think without any further ado, I'll hand over to Tom.
Can I ask before Tom comes in, Julian? Is the voluntary services still a standalone service?
Yes, we are standalone. We're an independent charity, obviously part of a broader network, but we're independent. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so if as I say, that was a few words just to set the scene, and so now I'll hand over to Tom to take you through his presentation.
Well, welcome, Tom. Yeah. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Morning. Good morning. Bore pawb. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that, Julian. So yeah, I'm going to spend about 10-15 minutes just going through a presentation just to cover the points that Julian outlined before, and hopefully that will give you a good basic understanding of where DVSC is, what we do, how we've worked together with Denbighshire over recent years, and how we hopefully can work more closely together in the coming months and years. I did have a presentation that I wanted to share screen on, and I've just realised that I don't have the ability to share the screen. So I don't know if we can just change that setting at all.
Yeah, just been done, Tom.
Diolch yn fawr.
Yep.
Right. Has everyone got my presentation up now?
Yes, we've got that now. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so like I said, I'd just like to take 10 minutes in telling you a bit about DVSC and our vision for working in partnership, key word here, to strengthen and support the third sector and the impact of the third sector in Ddinbych. So like I said before, we're covering those three things, really a bit about the vision of what DVSC is going to be, what our working relationship is with the local authority, and how we will work to prioritise funding and evaluate our effectiveness. I'd like to say if people have got questions, maybe they could save them up to the end and we can have a discussion later on, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, that's I'll allow that.
Okay. So I don't know what you all think of our new colour of Naylor Leyland Centre. It seems to have gone down quite well. I can take absolutely no credit for choosing it. I think it's emblematic of a new era for DVSC. So thank you firstly for giving me the chance to brief you on it. If I want one thing to come across from this presentation, it's that our core purpose is to serve the people and communities of Ddinbych by supporting the third sector to thrive, and that we will invest very strongly in a strong relationship with Ddinbych Council and other key stakeholders like Betsy to achieve this, our common aim. My personal background, as Julian said, I'm relatively new in post here, been in post since May this year. But most of my background has been around developing really strong partnerships across sectors. A good example of that would be developing the Danger Point project when I worked for North Wales Police. Some of you will be aware of Danger Point over in our neighbouring county of Flintshire. So I think if I have one thing to bring to this, it's that I really like to work in partnership and in collaboration. So a little bit about our mission as an organisation. So I think, we're here to support. All these words are really important, the words in red. So to support, to be a catalyst, to amplify and to challenge the third sector. And that's across Ddinbych. Although we're based in Ruthin, it's really important to me that we're representative of communities, really diverse communities across Ddinbych, from Rhyl and Prestatyn to Corwin and Llangollen, Llandegla, everywhere really. And this involves supporting third sector organisations, whatever their size. I think you've all got an idea of what the third sector is, but I think it's a really, really vibrant and diverse sector that covers everything from micro community enterprises based entirely on voluntary action, all the way through to major national charities that operate and deliver services in Ddinbych. So we've got a real challenge in how we support that really diverse range of organisations at scale. I think it's really important that you also understand that we are part of a broader partnership called Third Sector Support Wales. There are 20 partners in Third Sector Support Wales, so obviously there's county voluntary councils in every other county in Wales, and we also have Wales Council for Voluntary Action as a kind of umbrella for us, all working together with Welsh Government to support the third sector in our counties, and around 4 main strands. So we get a block grant from Welsh Government to do this work. So we want to support third sector organisations to be better governed, to be able to attract and keep and manage great volunteers, to be able to influence and engage, and that's with yourselves, with the health board, with other key stakeholders, with the public service boards, etc., and to attract sustainable funding. So we have an active work programme on all those key strands of work, which I'll tell you a bit about later. So the catalyse word. So we run and build networks among the third sector that can inform good practice. We bring third sector organisations together to deliver, really great services and to spot new opportunities to work together and deliver new services too. A good example of this, we run practitioner networks for volunteering, one of the key strands of Third Sector Support Wales, and for well-being, which is a really important part of our work, and other topics like dementia, where we bring people together to share ideas and build partnerships and spot gaps in provision. I think a further aspect of what we do is about how we help the third sector to have a voice in Ddinbych. So we want to help the third sector to communicate with policymakers, public service deliverers like yourselves, funders and commissioners, which is really important for a lot of the smaller community groups that we discussed before. Maybe less so for some of the big charities. They're very good at lobbying, but we're really there to help small organisations to have a voice and to get their ideas traction and support. We'll be doing a lot more engagement as part of the next few months. An example of that will be part of our development plan is to work and beat the drum for social enterprise. Very visible projects like the Market Hall and some of the ideas that we're talking about with the Real Community Development Board, for example. I think it's important that we're brave enough to be able to have awkward conversations where the sector isn't being listened to, or where there are gaps in service, or where communication is broken down. We need to be, as mentioned before, an independent voice to represent groups and communities, especially when they are small and can easily be overlooked. I think that goes two ways, though. We also challenge the sector to use quality standards, to access excellent training, and to improve their professionalism, and also to measure their impact. It's really important that we look at social value reporting as a common way to do that. A special part of our work is to promote the involvement of the third sector in raising the well-being of our communities. And this is especially important post-COVID. Well-being is traditionally an area where there's been significant services provided by the third sector. For example, in food poverty and mental health. And when there are many opportunities to develop better links with public services to improve things, such as ICANN centres, for example, where third sector organisations are often delivering those sort of frontline mental health services, or the work of community navigators influencing social prescribing. We've just excitingly recruited a new wellbeing team into DVSC, which started last week. Two excellent new members of staff who'll be pushing this work area forward with energy and be a spark in the space between the third sector, Ddinbych Council, Betsy, and our citizens. As part of this, we have a highly effective wellbeing network which meets monthly, and we contribute to the Public Service Board and the wellbeing assessments and specific projects like Ddinbych Health Steering Group and Ageing Well in Ddinbyshire. We're also at the end of a project, or towards the end of a project, which is funded by ICF, to build capacity in Ddinbyshire communities around better support for people living with dementia. So providing grant support, providing help for groups to come together to actually make decisions and take responsibility in their local communities. Another thing we look at is how we can use social enterprise, as I mentioned before. So the Market Hall is a really good example of this, very much with the support of Ddinbyshire Council. So as you'll probably know, the Ruthin Market Hall is owned by Ddinbyshire Council, but they've given us a lease with peppercorn rent until 2025, where we've managed to attract foundational economy and circular economy funding to refurbish the building and make it suitable for a modern market and event space. And this is set to complete in October this year. We're in the middle of doing some work on it now. We have a senior officer supporting social enterprises and social entrepreneurs across the county. I suppose our big vision here is to use the market as a signifier to achieve social good around well-being. To help food producers, local food producers, to have a voice, to be able to sell to our communities, and to run a well-being cafe, to run a social supermarket there as well to help with food poverty and food waste. So just to reflect back on some of the work that we did over the last 18 months, I was going to say through COVID. Obviously, we haven't come to the other side of COVID yet, but I think our partnership in the real crisis time was very, very positive. So we had a massive influx of people who wanted to volunteer, and we worked very closely with Ddinbyshire Council to attract those volunteers in and help to place them with practical tasks for citizens around dog walking, gardening, picking up prescriptions, doing the shopping, being a buddy. And that worked very well. So we actually placed 162 volunteers at Ddinbych Council, significant number, and making a massive impact. And working with third sector organisations like DIOGELWCH and Craffu Town Council, 4x4 community responders. We waived our membership fees, and we'll continue to waive our membership fees for organisations so that as many community organisations can benefit from our work. And we gave a lot of funding, or transmitted a lot of funding back to the sector. So where are we up to now? So we have a really strong agenda of work with Ddinbych Council. I think the most important part of this is we've just agreed a research project to identify the resilience of the third sector in Ddinbych, to go back to the sector and say, what are your issues? What's, especially with COVID, what's strong, what's weak, how can we help? How can Ddinbych Council help? So that report should report back in January next year, and hopefully will inform our work going forward. I've already mentioned about the Market Hall project, but that's again about a partnership project with Ddinbych to coordinate food poverty and food waste activities across Ddinbych, with Group Cynefin, with Crest Cooperative, with a number of other organisations. We will be re-establishing a third sector forum to engage with Ddinbych Council in this time. And that's a really exciting chance to get that to work really well as a voice for the sector. I'm really pleased that we've been invited to be part of the Rural Community Development Board to represent the third sector on all the themes around employability, because that actually, you know, a lot of our volunteering is about employability skills. A lot of social enterprise and community enterprise development is about giving people a purpose in their lives. So I think we've got a really strong role in that. And lots of other practical support, working with contracts commissioning team, working with adult social care managers to see how we can do better work together, and a similar agenda with Betsy as well. Coming to the end now, it's really important for me as a new leader and an organisation that's been through lots of change recently, internally, and obviously with COVID, to be able to express our values. So I wanted to leave you with a sense of what we're about as an organisation. That we're an independent charity driven by passion to make communities in Ddinbych better and to making a difference. So if we're not making a difference to real people's lives, we're not doing our job. That we should be fearless, innovative and forward thinking, but doing work that people need, and that research will help to inform that. We need to be listening and open. Some of you will now know that Naylor Leyland Centre is now open for business as a community venue in Ruthin. The Market Hall will be an open door to communities and members of the community. We're committed to partnership, and that we want to promote really great practice among the third sector. So volunteering and voluntary action isn't enough. It has to be really high quality services. And that we're human and approachable. And again, that comes back to my gratitude for you inviting me early on in my role to speak to you today, and the welcome I've had from Ddinbych senior staff has been, you know, one of the best things about this my induction program. We've got a great team of 10, just recruiting 3 new members to that now. A really vibrant board, some great assets in the community, and I suppose really an overall enthusiasm for doing some really great stuff across voluntary action across Ddinbych. So I'll leave it at that. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Tom, for that. I do wish...
I had a question. Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
Sorry, Chair, I had a question.
Somebody talking. Rachel, can you just wait for a minute, please? Sorry. Just want to thank Tom for his presentation. And now I'll open it up for questions. And we're going to start with Anne Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Over the years, I have worked with the DVSC in Ruthin, And in particular, over the pandemic, I was very impressed with the services it provided to the community. In particular, the befriending telephone calls, you know, some people weren't speaking to anyone all day. I took part in this befriending service, telephoning those requesting a chat with someone. Gardening, I only had to pick up the telephone on DVSC with their gardening for the vulnerable, and in particular the shopping. So I would like to have it noted that I'm thanking the volunteers in particular and the staff for DVSC. Obviously, you're here this morning because maybe not everyone knows all the services you provide. Is there a way that you could get closer to the community so the residents, you know that you're there, wouldn't rely on us to signpost them? Like in the library, we have the talking point facility. Could you join that or something? Just wondering how we can get closer to the community to spread the word. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think talking points and ICANN and community navigators are really important parts of that. An example would also be where we have just been invited by Prestatyn Business Group to have almost like a surgery type approach within in the town council to be able to talk to people about the services we can offer them. So, like I said, I think COVID's affected a lot of our engagement over the last year and a half or so. I want to get back to talking to people directly in communities. So thank you for that, and thank you for I'll pass the thanks on to the team. I can take absolutely no credit for all the work that was done last year, but they can, and I'll pass that on. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne. Emrys? You had a question, Emrys?
Yes, I've just unmuted myself. Diolch yn fawr. Byddai'n troi'r Gymraeg, felly jyst fi baratoi ar gyfer y cyfieithiad. Croeso, Tom, i'r tîm a llongyfarchiadau chi ar eich penodiad fel prif swyddog i'r DVSC. Ga i hefyd y tegur hyn wedodd mewn hyd cynghorydd Ann Davies, nes i gael cyfle i droi at DVSC ofyn am gymorth un o drigolion rhithdyr gyda'r garddio, ac o fewn 4 awr ar 20 mi roedd yna drefniant wedi wneud i 3 gardd person oedd yn fregus ar y pryd, ac mae'r gefnogaeth wedi parhau yn yr ystyr bod nhw wedi llwyddo i hwyluso bod y garddion gallu parhau yn anuniongyrchol drwy DVSC, ond yn sicr diolch i'r gwaith cychwynnol DVSC, a dwi eisiau enwi un swyddog yn arbennig, Gareth, ddaru gynorthwyo gyda hynny, newch chi basio hynny ymlaen i Gareth, gobeithio. Ga i ofyn un cwestiwn ynghylch neuadd y farchnad Rhuthun. Dwi'n gwybod bod yna waith yn mynd rhagddo ac yn edrych ymlaen at weld y drysau'n agor. Oes gennym ni ddyddiad neu gyfnod mewn golwg pryd y byddwn ni'n gallu, mae'n rhywun gen i mewn ffôn ni'n canu, neu ddim yn allu ateb am y munud. Na i ymwybyddio. Ie, oes yna ddyddiad neu oes yna gyfnod mewn golwg pryd y bydd y drysau yn gallu agor mwyn i gymdeithasau ag ati dre fedru manteisio ar y cyfleuster yma sydd wedi bod yn gaffeiliad mawr i'r Rhuthun yn y gorffennol. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Emrys. Thank you for that. I don't have a specific date to give you. I don't want to be hung by giving you a specific date because it's a complicated piece of work we're doing in an old building, and we're trying to do it with a lot of sympathy to the building and with support from Ddinbych's property team as well. It will be in October, I believe. We're just putting in the lobby to the building now. Then the market stands need to be put together. We're not far away, and we need to pour a floor as well. We put a suspended floor into the market hall to protect the original flagstones, but it's we're trying to put something in there to make it a little bit more energy efficient. So October, but if groups need to use a building to meet, Naylor Leyland Centre is open for business and has been refurbished over the last 6 months and is looking lovely inside and out.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr, thank you, Tom. I am actually going to turn my camera off now because it's already disintegrated. I can see that I've got a low bandwidth here. So thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Okay, thank you. Rachel?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry about before. My screen froze and I was worried I couldn't get my question in. Hi, Tom. Thank you for your presentation. I almost wanted to get a job with you when you said about the values of DVSC. I was like, that's where I should be. But one of my questions was about how does the DVSC plan to utilise the volunteers on a long-term basis? I, like many others, volunteered in the digital area. I was never called upon, but I would be happy to. I, like other people, would be happy to carry on that momentum if needed.
Oh, thank you. And I just made the point with the values that they actually came from the team rather than me. I think again, what I'm keen to do is to give everyone a real stake in what they're doing as a new team within DVSC. So good question about volunteers. We're in communication with David Soley at Ddinbych Council at the moment about how we can, I suppose, move people forward from that, because I think a lot of that initial energy that around gardening and shopping and everything else is now people are obviously able to access in a lot of cases their original family networks and networks of friends. So although we're still doing some of that work, and I'll make sure the thanks goes to Gareth as well, because there's nothing he enjoys more than helping people do their gardening, especially with getting him away from our allotment is a difficult thing as well. I think there's a really exciting potential around volunteers, and I think everyone's realised now how dependent we are in communities, and what we have, the ability we have to actually give back as well. So it's work that we will be looking at. I mean, we obviously manage a volunteering portal with WCVA, which, if people are interested in actually volunteering now with third sector organisations in Denbighshire, they can go online and they can find and be brokered into a role. But I want to do more than that. I want us to actually be I want us to be highlighting the impact of volunteers, and I want us to be recognising the value of volunteering in Denbighshire as well. But maybe if I come back in a couple of months' time, I can give you more specific plans about that. But yeah, it's important to me.
Okay, thank you for that. Happy there. Rhys?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Before I ask any questions, I've just remembered that maybe I should declare an interest, as I am a trustee of the Vale of Clwyd Food.
Rhys, your sound is breaking up, so can you just turn your screen off for us?
I will.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to declare an interest that I am a trustee of a local charity, the Vale of Clwyd Food Bank.
Okay,
thank you, Chair.
One moment then, Rhian.
Yeah, I take it that's a personal interest, isn't it?
It's a personal interest, yeah.
Have you completed a form for that in the past?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, we'll send one on for you then, that's fine.
Okay then, thank you. Thank you.
Questions,
Right, sorry about that, Tom. Good morning. It's good to meet you, Barada. I'm sure that everybody in the room is familiar with Ddinbych County Council's corporate priorities about promoting resilient communities. And I think we all realise what an important role DVSC has in that. So it's good to see you here this morning. And I did have a number of questions, but as you are the recently chosen chief officer, I think you said, then I think I may have a number of questions for you, but maybe that this isn't the best place to ask them. So I shall be in touch, and maybe we can have a discussion about some things that have happened before you came into post. My first question, can you tell me when your your next annual accounts are going to be produced. The only ones I can find are from 2019-20. Those have an interesting phrase in them. It says that it's been a very challenging year. Well, little did we know that the next year was going to be far more challenging for DVSC and everybody else. But will there be an opportunity to see the annual account for that at some point, Tom, please?
Absolutely. November this year, we'll be having an AGM. We got slightly out of sync with AGMs because of the hiatus in between myself and my predecessor. Okay. And that's why we held a belated AGM back in, I think it was early June this year. Yeah, we'll be back to you in November. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. No, that's just my first question, Chair.
Oh gosh, how many have you got?
So Tom mentioned there that you've given out a number of COVID-19 emergency grants. I was just wondering whether you received additional Welsh Government funding during that. This is going back before you were in post, but if you have no knowledge of this, you can simply say you don't know. But did you receive additional funding?
We did. We had. We were able through through Welsh Government to run a voluntary sector emergency grant fund round or two, which was small grants. We also had additional comic relief money that obviously wasn't Welsh Government, but was specific to COVID. That was again transmitted through CVCs, and I think that made a big difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Rhys. Joan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Tom, for your presentation. And I wish you well in your new role. I do hope it is successful. I do believe in partnerships, and I hope that the partnership with our county council goes well. Now, after saying that, I have a couple of questions to ask, and I'm also very pleased to see that you're on the development board. I think that would be a step in the right direction, because I think there's far too much fragmentation goes on, people working in silos. No one knows what the other departments are doing, and I think it is very, very good practice to be part of, especially the development board in Denbighshire. Now, I'm being a little bit critical as well, although not too critical. And I must say that I do love the building in Ruthin. I think it does look very splendid, and I have to applaud that. But could you tell me about what's happening with the large building in Frill that went up for sale by the library, the big building that was run, I believe, by the voluntary services for the third sector? And am I right in thinking that to start with? And if we are looking at well-being schemes within the county, I think that somewhere like that, if indeed you don't already own it, should be perhaps put on the agenda of the DVSC to look at. Certainly what I like the sound of, Tom, was the wellbeing centre, and I could see that in an area of need, and I don't see, and I feel awful saying this, but I have to say it because I do know the areas of deprivation, and I do believe that the Frill area, there are areas in Frill and Denbigh that have particular needs, in so much as the food banks and so on, the assistance that we do need going forward. Even in this day and age, I feel ashamed to say that we do need that sort of support for families within our communities. And it doesn't give me pleasure saying that, but it is a need that needs filling. So I would be looking at the areas of need, and looking at buildings like the one that I did believe that DVSC did own in Frill, that is up for sale at the minute, but looking at buildings like that that could be taken over for a wellbeing centre, and looking not only it could be incorporated with a marketplace where there could be good practice, but it could also be quite for a food bank, to sort of more centralise it. And looking at the social need in dementia and all the other things that are ancillary to the needs of a wellbeing centre. So I'm particularly interested in that, but would be more interested in it if it was in the areas of need. But that's about all I have to say on it. I do wish you well, and I do hope the partnerships work well in the future. But I think more transparency, as far as I'm concerned, would be very much appreciated. We don't know who is employed but as I say, I did ask at the beginning, and you are a standalone charity, so do have that security around you. But because there is this partnership arrangements that hopefully you seem to want to grow, I think that there should be far more transparency within the DVSC, so we know who is being employed, who are the volunteers, who is being employed, and I believe that would be a good way forward. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I think it went into the chat just before, but just to confirm, that building was actually owned by WCVA. It was their North Wales headquarters. And I think they've decided now to disinvest from that and to have their staff working from home. It was a very underused building, I know from personal experience. I'm more than happy to have the conversation with the chief exec of WCVA, Ruth Marks, to see what their plans are for the building, because, like you say, it's an iconic building within Rill, and has a lot of potential in an area of need. I think your point about a wellbeing centre is really interesting. One of the strengths we have on our board is that we have Chris Rowan, who I'm sure you all know. One of Chris's absolute passions is about wellbeing, and we want to work very closely with Chris to be able to help develop our wellbeing services in Rill. I think the point about our presence in Rill is an important one. I'm certainly in conversations with Tom Booty and other officers within Denbighshire about how we can have a presence within, for example, the new market that's being developed in the centre of Rill. But there may be other buildings that we can look at as well. I think your point about transparency is an important one. I would just like to apologise that we have a website that isn't fit for purpose at the moment, but will soon be. And I think there was a lot of simplifying needs to be done. It's not as easy as it might sound. But hopefully, again, by the end of October, we'll have a website that will show people who works for DVSC, who's on our board, what the roles are, and how they can actually get involved. It's all there at the moment, but you have to fight to get it. So lots to do, but that's just one of the things that will be done soon.
Thank you. But may I just ask one other question? Well, make another comment, Chair, if I may. Having a presence in Frill, I think that you also touched on social enterprise, and I think social enterprise has been really neglected in any area of need, and in particular in Denbighshire. Social enterprise is something that we could have taken a hold of and really taken it forward to support and skill and give a confidence to our communities, and that's never happened. And I think that if the DVSC has an intention of dealing with the social issues, social enterprise would be, I would hope that social enterprise is high on your agenda. Thank you.
I can confirm that it is.
You made some very good points there, Joan. So much so, I'm going to bring Liz Greaves in because she has joined us. Liz, would you like to respond to some of those questions?
Bore da pawb, nice to see you. Yeah, Tom and I have already had some discussions about how we might be able to work together in terms of understanding where the third sector is and where the opportunities are for it to grow, and social enterprise is very much a part of that. We have a particular interest from Working Denbighshire's perspective, because we think there are some opportunities there to support people to set up social enterprises to support themselves and their neighbours. And Tom's really an important part of that conversation. So he's not been in post for very long, but he's made a big impact in some of our strategic conversations in a short period of time. So watch this space is what I would say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Joan, are you happy with that reply? Joan, you're on mute still.
Sorry, Chair, I was just saying thank you to Liz for popping in there, but also thank you to Tom for giving answers to some of my issues that I have, and I'd much appreciate that and look forward to more transparency in the future, and certainly taking advantage of the information and also the going back 4 years, I think, Chair, we went to Liverpool to look at wonderful examples of social enterprise that were happening in Liverpool. And my goodness, it really shocked me how wonderful they were supporting their communities and skilling a workforce that had no skills whatsoever. And I was most impressed. And I'm sure that rather than reinventing the wheel, there is an awful lot of information out there that would assist both Denbighshire County Council on social enterprise issues, and certainly Tom and his officers. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Jonah. A few of us accompanied you on that visit to Liverpool, and I must say it was very enlightening. Amazing work that was going on there. But that's quite some years ago now, and nothing really materialised here, I'm afraid. I've got Christine and then Merrick, and those being the last speakers. So if Christine, you ask your question, and then Merrick, and then Tom will answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. COVID clearly has encouraged a strong community feeling and support, with lots of groups sort of popping up in our sort of local areas. Have you been able to coordinate and keep in touch with these groups to give future support and future sort of engagement to sort of keep these groups going? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Merrick.
Diolch yn fawr, parchus gadeirydd, da chi'n garedig iawn. A bore da, Baram, dymuniadau gorau i chi, ac hefyd llongyfarchiadau ar y swydd. Dwi wedi colli cysylltiad ers blynyddoedd hefo gymdeithas wych yma. Oedden ni'n arfer cael llythyr newyddion, a heb weldyn ers dalwm iawn. Un wedi colli'r cysylltiad lle i anfon o neu rhywbeth ydi digwydd. Hefyd roedd trefniadau cyfieithu a theipio i wirfoddolwyr ar gael ar un adeg. Dwi'n ni'n ydych chi'n dal i wneud hynny. A hefyd, oeddech chi'n cynnal darlithoedd da a fu yn cyflwyno gwybodaeth ar bynciau amrywiol. Oedd hynny'n dda iawn, dweud y gwir, a oeddwn ni'n dod draw i wrando pan ni'n cael y gwahoddiad. A un peth arall oedd yn arfer digwydd oedd bu cystadleuaeth yn neuadd orau o fewn Sir Ddinbych. Dwi'm yn gwybod ydy honno'n dal i fynd, oherwydd da ni byth yn cael dim byd gyn yr adran cynt. Eithon ni wella, dwi'n siŵr rwan, efo chi wrth y lliw. A diolch i chi am y cyflwyniad a dderchog. Diolch yn fawr, parchus gadeirydd.
I'm really grateful for the history and that understanding of some of the history of DVSC. I've obviously worked with DVSC. I've lived in Denbighshire for 25 years now, and I've worked with DVSC on and off in that time with various chief officers. So I've got a sense of some of that history. I think just answering the questions in order. There were lots of new groups set up, and we have an officer called Ali Carter, whose role is particularly around helping new groups and new enterprises to grow and to get constituted and to have governance. And we also have a lottery funded project which has been doing very similar work around providing consultancy to new fledgling organisations that need help on putting a board together, getting a constitution, attracting sustainable funding. So those projects have been really valued, I think, over the last few months. So yes, it is happening. But if you know of groups that we're not reaching or we're not speaking to, then please tell me about it. Because we're a team of 10 people, and there's probably 2,000 voluntary organisations in Denbighshire. So we do rely on you to help us to know who's out there and who's great. And we'll work through other people as well. We have a really strong new partnership with South Denbighshire Community Partnership, who are doing lots of really great regeneration work in South Denbighshire. And they've helped us to identify groups, food poverty groups, community transport groups that we can support. The newsletter. I remember the newsletter. I know we have been in the past putting together blogs and other electronic forms of newsletters through the website. That will be revised and rebooted for again later on this year. I've had to focus some of my energies on rebuilding my team, but it's really important for me that we get out there and we start to be able to talk to people about the fantastic work that third sector organisations are doing in Denbighshire. Our new wellbeing team will be doing that. They'll be having at least a fortnightly bulletin on wellbeing activities across Denbighshire. So we'll start with that and we'll move forward on that. But yeah, there's been a bit of a gap. You mentioned about free translation service. We don't provide that, but my understanding is MATERION do. So I think if you want to contact me separately, I can put you in touch with them, and maybe they can help you. I think it's limited to a certain number of words, but that's. But it's a free service. I hope that covers everything. Oh, the best kept village. Beg your pardon. I've seen the trophies. They're in our reception area. Maybe we need to get back to doing that again. Yes, that's a really good way to engage with local communities.
Thank you, and that's a very nice way to end that discussion. I thank you again, Tom.
Can I just give a quick response?
And hopefully we will be seeing you back here in a few months' time, perhaps, and then you'll be able to tell us the wonderful things you've been doing, the achievements that you've been able to manage. Hopefully, yes.
Yes, happy to come back, and I just look forward to extending a really strong relationship with Liz and other officers in Denbighshire, and obviously yourselves as councillors. Please, I want an open door policy. So if you want to come and talk to us, tell us we're not doing the right thing, just come and talk to us. Your views.
That was just going to be my question. Are you happy for all members to contact you when they have issues?
Absolutely. I think it was mentioned before about openness. That's my commitment to you. Come back to me and I'll be as open as I can be. I'll be as honest as I can be. I've got that excuse of being a new boy for a bit yet to come.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Julian, also for attending with us today.
Chair, thank you.
Emrys, did you want to say something?
Yes, sorry. It's a very quick, to clarify, the last part of a response, Tom, regarding MATERION. I was just in the middle of typing a message for all those present. MATERION facilitates the translation service as opposed to actually providing the translation services. Having said that, I do know that they will do a minimum, a short translation should the request come in for something, but how specific they are in terms of number of words, etc., I couldn't confirm that. But yes, if it can be done quickly over the phone, I'm sure it would happen then and then. But normally it would be a facilitating service under normal circumstances. But yeah, good.
Thank you for that. Okay, so we're moving on now to agenda item 6. I just want to bring your attention to page 29 on that item, and Rian actually sent it. For some reason it didn't print, and I think we can see particularly why it didn't, because of its contents. Can I ask, has everybody received that? Sent on the 14th. It was to fill in the box that was on page 29. Can I just have a show of hands whether you've received it and read it? Okay. We'll proceed then, if that's okay.
Just before you proceed,
I'm
Chair.
going to read it.
Oh, that's fine.
I've got it in my mind. Okay. So if we're going to proceed without you wanting a break to read it, and it seems as if you'll have read it anyway, I'll just read the following. The committee will discuss the following item of business. Business item number 6, in its capacity as the council's designated Crime and Disorder Scrutiny Committee in accordance with the Police and Justice Act of 2006, 19 and 20. Okay, and I will welcome now Mark Young as a cabinet member. Welcome, Mark. And have we got Sian Taylor?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Sian. I can see you now. Okay, who's going to lead on this?
I've got a small intro, Chair, if I may, and then we're happy to take questions. Okay, yeah, can I start?
Please.
Okay, Chair, I'll turn my camera off just in case. Thank you very much. Boradar, Diolch, and thank you, Chair and members. I'm going to share a small intro for the Community Safety Annual Update for 2020/2021. Our annual report relates to the work of the Community Safety Partnership and the crime stats for the period April 2020 to March 2021. In the report, you will find a summary of all the key crime data for that year and a summary of our partnership activity in Ddinbych. You will see that despite the pandemic changing the way we had to operate, we still managed to serve our community in Ddinbych by working collectively to anticipate problems, deal with issues and monitor crime trends. We've worked well as a partnership, managing to bring in additional funding for those third sector services under greater pressure as a result of the pandemic. We've also managed community tensions and worked daily with our police colleagues. We monitored 13 key crime areas during the pandemic, and whilst 10 of these did see reductions, 3 of these areas did carry on with increased in the activity in their areas. These 3 areas are as follows: stalking and harassment, domestic crime, antisocial behaviour, and please note the additional information for this, cybercrime. You will also see we've included additional data to explain the highest crime increases for those and other areas seeing increases such as cybercrime. We hope we'll show you we've been trying to manage some of these increases by working in partnership and work that is still to be done. We've also managed to get some data from third sector domestic abuse services across Ddinbych so that you can see the recorded crime stats and the figures for those accessing domestic abuse support services, and some which go directly to the services and not via the police. We do hope that you found the information useful in painting a fuller picture in Ddinbych, and despite a year like no other, we believe we've managed to continue with some business as usual, but we've also added in some additional projects to assist in keeping our community in Ddinbych safe. Jochevau and myself and officers are happy to take any questions you have.
Right. Thank you, Mark. Sian?
Okay, if I could take you through the highlight report that I provided for the meeting. As Councillor Mark said, it was an unprecedented year really, and the figures I would say we should handle with caution. That being that it wasn't a year like any other. The majority of things closed down, people were restricted. So as a result, we saw crime falling. As a partnership, as you know, I've updated you before, but we cover 3 priority areas, and under those are obviously multiple headings. So we have top priority, which is reoffending, so it's working with leads to manage offenders. Priority 3, local priorities, which for us primarily are managing antisocial behaviour and repeat cases of antisocial behaviour. Priority 1, we've set our performance status as acceptable. This is because we saw domestic crime and stalking increase over that period of time, and I'll go into those in more detail in a moment, but all of the areas where we've seen increases. We managed to carry on as a partnership working collectively with the fire service, police, health, in still raising awareness of victim-based crimes. So whilst we had to tailor our work a little bit, not going out in the community, obviously during the pandemic, we were able to get lots of information out, and we used multiple third sector networks to send out information as well. We carried on with providing target hardening equipment for those areas that had suffered from burglaries. Now, we did see burglary go down during the pandemic, which is probably to be fully understood because people were at home, people weren't going anywhere. But there were issues around businesses that were closed. So we were able to with additional hardening. On with risk meetings, that was seamless, we didn't stop. We obviously sent out many press releases led by our lead member, Councillor Mark, around the White Ribbon Day in November. So we changed the colour of the bridge and the Sky Tower, which was great in raising awareness, and then obviously the press release came along with that as well. And we continue to promote the Live Free Free helpline, which is on everything that we try and access any help that is required around domestic abuse. The project activity, I would say we pitched it as good because we do.
John, can I suggest you turn off your camera just because you're breaking up and we do want to hear what you have to say?
Sorry, yes, we'll do.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'll stop the video. So we've set that project activity as good. As I said, we've managed to carry on with all of the work that we had embarked on, albeit slightly differently. So using phone calls, those kind of things, rather than face-to-face. As you can see, I've included the change in boards regionally. I've included this information. I know I alluded to it when I last saw you in December, but this is to give you an idea of the boards that have been established regionally to look at crime. And Councillor Mark Young is the chair of the Safer Partnership Board. I've listed all of the officers, albeit we might need to change a few of those officers now. But this just gives you an idea of the regional meetings that are taking place. And in Denbighshire, we hold a quarterly meeting now with those people that attend those meetings, so that we can get a good idea of what's coming out of the meetings and what it means for Denbighshire. Reducing reoffending, we've set the performance as good. Obviously, we've seen reductions in adult and youth offending, but this is not a normal year, and we're not blind to that fact. However, we managed to carry on with our integrated offender management programmes, those looking at more less intrusive crimes, but just managing those issues, looking at domestic crime as well. That's one area that the integrated offender management programme has picked up. We have worked in partnership to identify repeat antisocial behaviours with youth offenders, This seems to be one of the main issues across Denbighshire now, is that we have issues with pockets of young people causing antisocial behaviour. So this is an area where we're pulling together various people from various services so that we can look at it as a whole. We've put our project update as good for that, because, you know, given the fact that we were in a pandemic, we managed to carry on with all of our programmes. And now, obviously, as I mentioned, we're trying more targeted work around young people and identifying those young people who are causing most of the issues. Moving on to priority 3, local priorities we've set as good. We had seen a slight increase in the numbers of antisocial behaviour. Many of those that we saw in that year were aimed at neighbour disputes, because people were at home. It was a little bit more difficult, and young people were at home, and the tensions rose. But we worked as a partnership to try and diffuse most of those issues. And of course, there were issues that did, you know, still carry on, and we've worked collectively on those to try and bring all parties together. Councillor Joan mentioned before that everybody seemed to be working separately, so we pulled together. So this meant that we had members of the community, voluntary groups that were being affected, and officers from Denbighshire, so that we were able to try and problem solve, which I think has worked out really well. We managed community tensions with our cohesion colleagues, the regional team, and we were managing any incidents of hate crime during that time. You know, tensions are quite high, and we had the Black Lives Matter vigils and things like that as well, which we had to navigate and make sure that everyone was kept safe. Our project activity was good. We have had multiple meetings aimed at targeting those repeat areas for antisocial behaviour. We continue to participate in domestic abuse meetings, modern slavery and county lines, which is something that we will be developing as a board in the future, looking at organised crime for the whole of Denbighshire. So that's our summary of our highlight report. And then, if it's okay with you, Chair, I'll go on to the statistical analysis.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so as you can see, I've listed all the crimes that we monitor there, and I hope I've made it a little simpler this year by putting them in tables rather than giving you reams and reams of data. So as you can see, I mentioned before, we saw 10 categories reduce, and the 3 areas that we didn't see reduce, we have gone into greater depth in over here. I've also included the Conwy crime data, as I know members like to compare with Conwy as we are a joint partnership. So the stalking and harassment, the category of stalking and harassment can include harassment, racially or religiously aggravated harassment, stalking online, malicious communications, or controlling or coercive behaviour. So stalking online has seen the biggest increase, and I think this is something that we're all hearing about in the media. There are issues with people following people on social media sites, you know, and if people don't restrict the access to those sites, people are quite at liberty to view everything that's been posted. Online stalking can mean sending discreet messages, making inappropriate comments, or sending to photographs online, gathering personal information and using that information to turn up where victims happen to be, and making them feel very uncomfortable. When this is reported to the police, people are advised to make their social media accounts restricted, and that as a partnership is something we've been promoting. And make them private, so it reduces the chance of anyone who you do not know as a friend in accessing your information. According to talking to police colleagues, this action usually works, and there's only a small number continuing to online stalk after that initial discussion. Controlling behaviour has also been added to the stalking and harassment category. This is primarily behaviour in relationships where one partner is accused of controlling behaviour and using online social media to control what, you know, the information that they gather. Last year, Councillor Rees asked a question about domestic abuse services and the fact that our crime figures possibly don't correlate with what's going on in the community. So I did some additional work this year and speaking to DASU, the Domestic Abuse Services Unit, who provides the majority of domestic abuse services for Denbighshire. And they said that they had seen a huge increase during lockdown. This is people presenting to them directly and not going by the police. So 102% increase. So I think it does bear out what Councillor Rees was saying last year, is it doesn't necessarily mean just because the crime wasn't reported that people aren't accessing help from services. The support needed following COVID was more complex as there was a great deal of isolation. So we managed to access additional funding from the Welsh Government for dispersed placements for men and women, and women with children, men with children. So we were able to react to issues. We were also able to purchase things like IT equipment, clothing, because some of these people had just left with nothing, and young people, young children, had to access online schooling. So I think that shows we worked regionally to get that money into the region, and I think that really did help, and we're very grateful for the additional funding. The referrals to DASU come from a varying range of places, so police obviously refer in, housing, health, social services, mental health services, and of course people presenting themselves, self-referral, asking for emergency provision. We, as a partnership, we promote the Live Fear Free helpline, which is a 24-hour helpline. And over the last 12 months, we'd seen a 27% increase from North Wales. We're unable to break that figure down, unfortunately, but it just shows you that the information's getting out, and we will continue with trying to spread the word around that helpline. Victim support helpline referrals saw an increase as well. People are getting more au fait with ringing into the victim support hub in North Wales, which is really good, and it's something we've been promoting and will continue to promote. The cybercrime, which I believe is the document that might not have come in your pack or not incomplete, we decided to have a look at cybercrime for you and to try and share what cybercrime means and the fact that we have seen increases in cybercrime over the last 12 months. So cyber dependent crime, where digital systems are targeted, so that could be a local authority where they have, it's called ransomware, where they ransom data. And then cyber enabled crimes, so existing crimes that have been transformed in scale or formed by the use of their internet. So internet's being used to facilitate drug dealing, people smuggling, and many other traditional crime types. The growth in the internet has allowed these crimes to be carried out on an industrial scale. And I think the cybercrime, the phishing, that obviously your constituents probably suffer from multiple emails, click on this link. You know, those are the kind of things that we've been targeting as a partnership, working collectively across all public sectors to try and get information out. We have got a lot of work to do. We're never blind to the fact that things change, you know, crime types change, the MO, the sort of modus operandi of criminals change. So we will continue to work regionally to access funding for third sector domestic abuse services, so that they can cope with the increases that they're seeing. And I think the Welsh Government are very aware of those increases and those pressures. The domestic abuse corporate priority in Denbighshire will make sure that our teams are updated, that they know how to signpost. These are the ambitions of that priority. We will play our part locally in promoting services and helplines, and we'll continue to support our staff in implementing the new robust domestic abuse policy. We will also again be supporting the International Day of Raising Awareness of Domestic Abuse through our lead member, Councillor Mark. Cybercrime, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of work raising awareness of scams with our trading standards colleagues, and linking into the multiple networks. We started to do it during the pandemic, so age concern, trying to get the message out that if you're unsure of anything, don't just click on, you know, ask your relative. You know, to be cautious really is the kind of mantra that we're going for. We will continue, as we've seen a benefit in it, in our problem-solving approach to antisocial behaviour, bringing members together, volunteers in the community, anyone suffering from repeat domestic antisocial behaviour, we will bring people together. We found it very useful, for example, an issue in Rhyl that we had in the Botanical Gardens, and that multi-agency and multi-representation group still carries on now, and I think it's very useful in getting the right information out to everybody at the same time. We are anticipating a rise in crime over the next few months. Early indications are that obviously everything went back to normal. So the public houses were open, people were out and about, so that's definitely something we'll be monitoring, and as we always do, on a monthly basis. We will be assisting our rural crime team with the promotion of crime prevention measures. As you will have read in many media posts and online, there are issues with large items being stolen. So we're looking at new innovative target hardening methods for stopping, or at least being able to track those large items should they get stolen and then found. So that's the highlight report. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Sean. The first speaker is Joan.
Thank you, Chair. I did want to go first because I am going to have to leave the meeting, so I must apologise after asking my question and hopefully getting some sort of answer. I want to thank you because you've given us such a whistle-stop run through this report that it's absolutely breathtaking, the amount of work that is being undertaken within our county. And if we as a scrutiny committee are now going to be held or given the responsibility of encompassing the police within our scrutiny remit as a partnership scrutiny, then the statistical information that you've given is always good to establish actions. But because we are to hold the executive, this is what scrutiny committee does, that we're here to hold the executive to account. And how we do that is what are we paying for and what we're getting, and are we getting value for money? And if not, why not? And unless we're part of the partnership board, we can't hold anyone to account because we really don't know what's happening. And we're to hold Mark as our cabinet executive member to account. And so it's very difficult just to be parachuted into this sort of information and to be able to evaluate what value we're getting. I mean, there's a plethora of things that you're doing which is really to be applauded, but it does give me concern that we're all sat here and we're going to rubber stamp the report after you've given it, because it was an excellent report of all the stuff that's happening within our county, but I've no idea whether you're doing it good, bad or indifferent. I'm hoping you are, and have seen some changes within good practice within Rhyl over the policing issues. But I still see policing issues in Rhyl that are overlooked, antisocial in particular, that are overlooked and always overlooked. And it is continuation of what's happened before. So I'm finding it very difficult today to be holding a scrutiny on policing issues within Denbighshire, not being party to the information as to how and where, and unless we have a member on that committee that would be able to evaluate what is happening, I get very nervous popping it into a committee and the cabinet member that has to be held responsible or to account, not responsible, obviously not, but to account because he is the executive. So, Chair, I'm sorry, I seem to be having a bit of a moan, but I don't intend to have a moan because I do have a confidence that the police are really working very well, but I can't evaluate that by evidence that I see in Frill. So I find myself a little bit in a cleft stick. Thank you, Chair. I really feel that unless we have someone on the partnership, on the safety partnership board, I think that we just have got then to get a report back from the executive that we're supposed to be holding to account. And of course, the police, which give a report on all the work that they're undertaking within the county. And I find it very difficult to exercise my duty as a scrutineer of the service. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Jen. I'll just bring Rhiannon in there.
Just on that point, your duties here on this is to scrutinise the work of the Community Safety Partnership, of which the police is one member, and Councillor Mark Young is the chair of the board that was referred to there across North Wales. Now, with regards to the police, you can, if you want, invite the police to any meeting in future regarding their side of the work, but this is specifically around the work in the Community Safety Partnership. Also, with regards to the police, the council has got a representative on the crime, I can't remember, it's the Police and Crime Commissioners panel. So I think that's Councillor Hugh Irving, I think. So that's another avenue you've got to ask questions of what's going on with regarding to policing in North Wales. But this is not specifically around policing, it's about the work of the Community Safety Partnership.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Can I just sort of, do they recognise though that the public space protection orders, do they enforce that, Sian?
I wonder if Councillor Mark was. You know
well enough the problems we've had within the High Street and other areas in rural of antisocial behaviour, which you've quite clearly shown. A lot of it alcohol fueled, actually, and yet we have public protection orders in force there, and yet we've seen little of it being enforced, i.e. confiscation of alcohol and everything like that. So I just wondered whether that comes under your remit, so to speak.
Chair, can I come in with that, please?
Is that you, Mark?
It is, yes, sorry.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, no, so I can give you an update on the stats on that, because obviously the PSPO is new, and I have been in touch with the local sergeant, who's Mark Jones, a very helpful chap, and the summary he gave me is them powers within that have been used over 50 times since it's been renewed. Several people have been to court or are due to go to court, and the powers within that are being used to get them into court. So it is being used, and the sergeant is happy to come to this scrutiny if invited, or he's happy to meet locally. So, and I'm happy to attend either to help. So the powers are being used, but I think we can be better with our communications on that moving forward. I think it's a complex area, and that's not an excuse, that's just a statement of what drink can be taken and can't. I think it's got to be an opened drinking vessel, I think that the law actually says, but over 50 times is a high number. We could delve into the detail in a further meeting, and I'm happy to organise that if needed, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair.
I thank you for that, Mark. And yes, I think Sian, we've dealt with Sian on many occasions on this very issue. So I think, yes, a separate meeting would be a benefit to us. So we will arrange that with you, Mark.
And just Chair, just briefly, and this was organised before this meeting. Officers have asked for a meeting with me regarding the problem you just touched on, the drinking, public drinking in Rill, and we'll feed back after that also. So yeah, thanks for that, Chair.
Right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Excuse me, Chair. Point of order, please, Chair.
Yes, point of order.
I hate to be the one to drag us screaming and kicking back to what we're meant to be doing today, but the document I've read, and if you turn to 3.1, it says that we are here today to consider and comment on the content of the and we haven't yet started doing that. We're a scrutiny committee. We're meant to be looking at the performance and statistical update. So is it possible to come back to these other matters in other fora? I don't think this is the forum to discuss the things we've discussed up till now. Could we come back to the report, please, Chair? 3.1.
And that's exactly what we were going to do. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rhys. And I'm asking Emrys to speak.
Ie, diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Mae gen I sylw a 2 gwestiwn sydyn iawn os gwelwch yna. Mae'r cyntaf, cyfeiriad, ydych chi wedi cyfeirio Sian tuag at y caethwasiaeth modern. Rwan te, da ni'n ymwybodol bod hyn yn digwydd yn cymunedau ni a draws y wlad bellach, ac mae'n lawer iawn o'n guddiedig, a mae lawer yn eitha agored. Ac un o'r rhai o bosib sydd yn gallu bod yn agored ydy arferiad y gwasanaethau sydd yn mewn sawl cymuned bellach i olchi ceir ag ati. Rwan te, y drefn ydy, ydych chi'n cyrraedd y safle, ydych chi'n eistedd yn y car, ydych chi'n dweud pa raglen ydych chi isio, a mae'r car chi'n cael ei olchi gyda efallai hyd at hanner dwsin o unigolion, a ydych chi'n talu chweffynt neu wythbynt, a ydych chi'n gyrru ono. Ydych chi ddim wedi cael golwg ar unrhyw dysysgrif diogelwch, trydydd parti, cyflogi ag ati, ac mae hwnna yn peri pryder i mi. Gai ofyn i'r heddlu, ydych chi fel rhan o gwasanaeth yn cadw llygad, wrth gadw llygad ar gaethwasiaeth modern, ydych chi mewn sefyllfa i wedi wirio os ydy'r busnesau werthfawr yma i ni fel trigolion, ydyn nhw ydych chi'n hapus bod yw gweithwyr nhw yn cael gweithio mewn llefydd diogel yn sgil beth dwi'n newydd ddeud rwan. Dyna'r un cwestiwn, ac dim ond awgrym ydy hwn o lle mae'n gyfeiriad wedi bod at y llysoedd ag ati. Fi wedi datgan fy diddordeb, ond tybed efallai yn y dyfodol y gawn ni gyfle i graffu ar cyfiawnder adferol yr Restorative Justice hefyd. Fi'n meddwl bod hwnna'n fater dyn ni heb i wneud ers bydd y cyngor, a efallai daw yn gyfle i ni edrych ar hwnna yn y dyfodol. Diolch.
Yeah, I can answer the modern slavery question. We have been doing modern slavery visits to car washes and nail bars. So that's as a collective. So you have trading standards, you have home office officers as well involved. And we do look at everything from health and safety, personal protective equipment, to the accounts, to basic minimum wages being paid. So those are the kind of areas that are looked at. Obviously, with the pandemic, the visits came to a bit of a halt. But now, as a collective, we've started to gather up a list again. We have done it before in numerous places across Denbighshire, and we have highlighted issues to the HMRC around tax, what people are being paid. So that is something that we as a partnership are doing collectively. And we also have assistance from our fire colleagues as well. They attend to look at the health and safety aspect of the storage of the shampoos and things like that are used, because those can be flammable. So it is something that we're looking at, Councillor Emrys. You mentioned restorative justice. I've been involved in restorative justice cases across the years, and they are invaluable. And I think you're right. I think there is scope to expand this area of work. I found I usually sit in as a critical friend on these cases. So you have the police, you have the injured party, you have the perpetrator, and I'm there as a sort of moderator around these issues. And I have found them to be very useful in lower level crimes to try and get the point across as the impact of the actions of any offenders. Does that answer your question, Councillor Rhys?
Diolch yn fawr iawn, dwi'n ddiolchgar iawn. Diolch yn fawr iawn, ddwy waith.
Thank you, Sean. Now bring in Rhys.
Okay, thank you, Chair. One question and one commercial break. I'll just put the video off. My question, since this appears to be the least agricultural scrutiny that I've been on, do the figures that we have there include rural crime or wildlife crime? I realise they can be hidden in the other figures for theft and so on, but is that a problem? Should that be recorded separately in some way? I know that Councillor Young and I are very concerned about certain instances of wildlife crime, and are they included in that? The commercial break is that we have heard, if we look at the report, the increases in domestic abuse, stalking and harassment. And I noticed the figures for DASU, who used to be called Women's Aid or whatever. It's 102% increase there, from 400 to 800 clients. We work very closely with them through the food bank in Ddinbych, but the commercial break is that DASU are my mayoral charity this year. So please watch out. I will be coming around with my collect bowl at some point during the year, collecting for DASU and also for young carers. So Councillor Young, are statistics for rural crime included in your statistics today? Thank you.
If okay on that point, I'll bring in Sean, because I'm not sure how the data is broken down. I would hope so. So I'll comment on that one. On the domestic abuse point you've made, so this is the way you looking at this locally is really important. So if you look at the national picture, there's an increase of 27%, but locally the request for support is over 100%, as you just said. What is good, and we can give ourselves a pat on the back, is we're coping with that extra work. So I did check on that point, and although it's obviously challenging dealing with double the work, the fact is we are, so I think that's good, although it's worrying that the trend is going that way. And I'll let Sean come in now on the wildlife one, if that's okay, Sean.
Yes, that's fine. Some of the figures are incorporated in the update that you have, so around theft, domestic crimes, those kind of issues. I had asked for some extraction of data so I could present you with a rural crime picture, but it's quite difficult to sort of extract that information. I have made contact with the rural crime team in the police, and they are willing to share data sets with me so that we can try and extract a picture for you, which is what I presume you want to see, of rural crime and all the issues related to that. So I wasn't able to get it for this meeting. I'm very sorry about that, but it is something that is on my radar and is something I would like to see as a separate item as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Nicola, would you like to come in now? Is Nicola there?
Which Nicola, Chair? You've got Nicola Stubbins and Nicola Neal on the call.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see Nicola. Nicola Stubbins. It's you, Nicola.
That was okay, Chair. I did raise my hand earlier, but I put it down because Councillor Mark Young actually provided the information I was going to say. Deal.
Okay. Thank you. Merrick? Merrick?
Awr parchus Cadeirydd. A diolch i Sian am yr adroddiad ac i Mark Young wrth reswm. Ar tudalen 22, dwi'n meddwl bod chi wedi rhyw gyfeirio wrach at hwn. Mae'n rhoi lawr pwy ydy'r prif swyddog ar y blwch gyda'r enwa. Dwi'n sylwi bod ein prif weithredwr Graham Bowes yn o 2 waith. Fy'n enw newydd yn ymddangos yn y rhan yna, wwan i fod wedi cael ei ddyrchafu. Cwestiwn arall, dwi'n cael traffig cael unrhyw wybodaeth am ddamweiniau lle mae'r heddlu yn edrych i mewn i'r peth. Pam dwi eisiau gwybod ydy mwyn i ni gael gwella'r ffyrdd. Mae yna ddamweiniau'n digwydd yn lleol yn ar ni, o hyd ar ben wythnosau, ond ebyn pan dwi'n holi'r swyddogion, dydy'r wybodaeth ddim yn dod oddi wrth yr heddlu. Dwi'n yn siŵr ydy hynny'n gywir, ond wrach bod chi yn gwybod mwy. Os allai droi i tudalen 29, os yna rwle lle gellwn ni anfon e-bost sydd yn neges amheus i'r heddlu. Dwi'm yn gweld dim cyfarwyddyd o dan y pennawd yna. Ac un arall, tybed ydy'r ffigurau, wrach os rhaid chi edrych yn ôl dros mwy na 2 flynedd, ydy'r ffigurau yn gyffredinol yn mynd ar ei fyny ers ydyn ni wedi mynd allan o Ewrop. Mae'n ymddangos felly wrth wrando ar y newyddion bod yna fwy o gam ymddwyn a dwyn a bob dim arall. Ac un cwestiwn ola, ydych yn adrodd yn ôl ar faint o werth yw y camrau cyfing yn yr Rhyl a mannau eraill o gymorth i'r heddlu. Ydych chi'n adrodd yn ôl ar hynny neu ydy rhaid i ni gael pwyllgor ar wahân? Diolch yn fawr.
Okay, if I take the first question around the Chief Officer, I think Nicola Stubbins has just put something in the chat box. She will be attending the Safer North Wales Partnership for the time being. I'm not sure of any other decisions that have been made as yet, but Nicola will be attending temporarily. And I think there's the contest board as well, which is the counter-terrorism board. We're unsure yet as to who will be attending that, but I will update the box for you as soon as I know exactly what's going on. I don't have any information on accidents. That's not something we as a community safety partnership monitor. I think it's a road safety partnership, but I can try and find out some information for you and a contact person if that would be of assistance. Okay. Reporting things to the police online is, there's a police online system using 101. And they do welcome reports so that they are able to keep a track, and it will go to the cybercrime unit. So that is the area where we channel everybody through to the 101 or going online and reporting via 101 online. Europe, we haven't seen, when I compare the data from 2019 to where we are now, we often see fluctuations in our crime statistics, but there's nothing major of note. So we monitor trends, and obviously we're going to see a huge trend in possibly violence and disorder because things have gone back to normal, but we should see a leveling off, and then we're using the baseline data of 2019 to compare to. So we haven't seen any huge increases as yet as a result of Europe directly. I think, oh, and CCTV, I believe there's a CCTV board, a separate CCTV board in Denbighshire that monitors CCTV. So perhaps they're the ones that need, you need to discuss the CCTV provision with.
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Croeso.
Thank you, Sean. I've got to say, personally, I've never been able to get through on a 101 line, ever. And just to point out, as we're on page 23, that county lines will be coming to a council briefing on the 8th of November. Okay, so just wanted to remind members of that because that should be a really good briefing. Okay, Christine.
Thank you, Chair. Two questions. With regard to online, you talk about online bullying and harassment. What about online sort of financial sort of implications where people are sort of cheated out of money? Does that come under your remit, and where are they in the figures? And secondly, I attended Community Council yesterday, and we had a presentation by Sergeant Peter Evans of the North Wales Police based in Ddinbych, and he was talking about the community alert and a new rural crime website. He says it's about to be launched. Is that something that Ddinbych will help promote and sort of encourage people to engage with? And there's also on that a community alert, so you can have alerts very specific for your area. Again, is that something that Ddinbych will promote? Thank you.
Yep.
Can I come in just quickly on that, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Christine. So I also met Sergeant Peter Evans recently, who brought up the new scheme you just mentioned. So it's work in progress, but I'll be keen to promote it, and I know officers are when it's up and running fully. So yes, good point. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer the online fraud element?
Yeah.
It is something that needs to be reported to the police, or if it was benefit fraud, the benefit service. So that they're very much, we as a partnership don't get involved in that. What we're about is sharing information and making people aware of scams and getting information out. And as you mentioned, the community alert system, that is something that we will be utilising to get information out to people to beware. So it is something as a partnership we're going to be promoting in the future once it's fully live.
Oh, thank you, Sian. Now I've got Merrick and Gwyneth who wish to ask a question, but can I ask you to make it as quickly as possible so we don't go over time? Thank you. So we'll have Merrick.
Popeth yn iawn, Cadeirydd. Dwi wedi cael yng nghwestiynau. Diolch yn fawr.
Christine?
No, Chair, I'm all sorted. Thank you.
I'm asking, was you happy with that reply?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I was a bit slow getting back to you then. Gwyneth, do you still want to speak?
If I may, please.
Yes.
Fyswn i'n licio gofyn ynglyn â iechyd meddwl, dwi ar ddeall bod nifer o bobl sydd â phroblemau iechyd meddwl wedi cynyddu. Dyna un cwestiwn, a'r llall ydy, ydy'r heddlu yn cael rhyw fath o hyfforddiant ynglyn â pethau fel autism, a sut I delio efo bobl a bobl ifanc efo awtistiaeth? Diolch.
Thank you, Gwyneth.
I'm not sure I can answer because I'm not obviously in the police. They're just part of the partnership. So I can't answer your question about autism training and that. The mental health side of things, obviously the mental health issues impact on crime and disorder issues, but it's not the kind of information that we gather as a partnership. Unfortunately, I mean, police colleagues will say that the issues that they attend, there are many people suffering from mental health issues, but I don't actually have data or full information for you, Councillor Gwyneth. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Chair, can
I'm going to bring Nicola back now, and this will be the last word. Thank you.
Yeah, diolch, Chair. No, just to say, obviously there was a suggestion earlier that you may want to invite North Wales Police to attend a future meeting. to address some of the earlier discussion points. It might be that Councillor Gwyneth's questions are ones that could be added to that. So it might be that as a scrutiny committee, you actually have a debate and discussion as to what that meeting might entail and the areas that you might like to cover in that. And then obviously that information would be put forward to North Wales Police so that they prepared and brought the information based on the areas members were interested in. Diolch.
Yes, thank you, Nicola. That's a good idea. Happy with that, Gwyneth?
Diolch. Yes, very happy, Jeanette. Thank you.
Yes. Nice to see you, Gwyneth.
And you.
Okay, so let's go now to the recommendation on page 13. That Partnership Scrutiny Committee considers and comments on the contents of the attached performers and statistical update for 2021. Are we all in agreement with that? Will you raise your hands? Lovely, thank you. Now, would anybody like to nip off and get a cup of tea for a break, or would you like us to carry on?
Just before you go on, Chair, with regards to the issues you raised there about inviting the police to future meetings, can I suggest that for the real specific issue that Councillor Young referred to, that would be go to a real MAG, I would have thought. It's a local issue for real.
Yeah.
Public Space Protection Order.
Happy with that.
What I can do with the others that Councillor Gwyneth Kensler has raised, I think she's just left the meeting. I'll send her a scrutiny proposal form in to fill in so the chairs can then have a discussion about which scrutiny, when, and if there's any other matters they wish to add to that for a future meeting with the police.
Okay. Mark, which do you think it should go? Would you prefer a police scrutiny, or would you prefer a combined, or to go to MAGs?
I think meet the local members where the issue is would be the first meeting we should have. I think that's worked very well in other areas. That, and then we can decide from them would be the best way forward, I believe.
So you want it to go to MAGs?
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. So we'll ask Gwyneth then to submit her to chairs and vice chairs. Yep.
And Chair, just very quickly on the county lines coming to full council, I'll make sure they touch on the modern slavery aspect as Councillor Emrys touched on. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'll go back. Does anybody want to have a break now? A quick cup of tea for 10 minutes, or do you want me to carry on? Everybody nodding, carry on.
Carry on.
Okay.
Carry on regardless.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, officers. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Sian.
Welcome, thank you.
So we'll go to item 7 now, the scrutiny work programme with Rian.
Before I go on to that, do you want to do the minutes now then? Because we deferred them at the beginning, didn't we?
I forgot all about the minutes. Go back to the beginning of the pack. Okay, for accuracy on page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, and page 12. Matters arising on page 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. And can I thank the minute taker for excellent minutes as always, but really pleased with them. Everybody in agreement? Raise their hands. Proposer, is that you, Reese?
Yes.
Proposing?
Yes, I propose.
Seconding, Emrys? Can't hear you, but just nod. Give us a nod. Yeah. Everybody else, thumbs up. Yay. Okay. Over to you then, Rian.
Okay, thank you very much. This is your usual forward work programme report. just find it on my pack here. Yeah, on page 37. Now you will see the first item on there without a date to it. This is the Health Board plans for services in Denbighshire, which includes the North Denbighshire Community Hospital. I have been trying to get a date from the Health Board, but no luck at the moment. And I want to thank Nicola because she's agreed to try and push this forward today with the Health Board, so I can get you a date as soon as possible on that one. Your next meeting is on the 4th of November, and you've got 4 quite large items for discussion at that meeting. One of them includes the North Wales Economic Ambition Board performance report for Q2, which will invite representatives to attend for that one. I've recently received the Q1 report, and as you'll be aware, the Q1 and Q3 reports which you'll have will be for information purposes. Now, I will send that out to you shortly, but that's purely for information and background, ready for the item in November. Now, you mentioned this morning you might like to have DVSC back at some point. Have you got an idea of when? So I can put them in.
I think we need to let him get his feet properly under the table. So I think, what do the rest of the group? I think 6 months myself.
6 months, okay. So
everybody happy with 6 months? Or would you like to see them back sooner? Thumbs up.
6 months, that's fine.
6 months.
6 months.
Good. Can I come in here as well on the 3rd of November and say, to make Rhys really, really happy today, I'm going to have a pre-meeting, Rhys. Hooray! So, what should we do now? Should we have it at 9 o'clock on the actual day, on the 4th? Do you think 45 minutes will be enough? Or should we have it on the 3rd, separate meeting? On the 3rd of November, probably in the morning.
Can I just come in on that, Chair? Just for members to be aware. We have to hold the pre-meeting on a completely separate system, so it'd have to be held on Teams. And we couldn't access it here from the council chamber on that morning because they're busy setting up for the Zoom meeting at 10 o'clock. So it would either, if we do it on the morning of the meeting, it would mean the chair and myself being in another room here in County Hall for 9 o'clock, which is no problem for me, but I'm not sure for the chair. Otherwise, it'll be dark. Extra early. Or we could do it the day before, everybody from home via Teams. It's entirely up to you, but I've checked the councillor's diary for the 3rd of November, and the morning of the 3rd seems free at the moment. So we'd need to book it in fairly quickly.
Any feedback on that then, members? Any preference?
Just to be clear, that's the Wednesday, Chair.
Discussion.
Meet on the 3rd.
It sounds logistically as if it would be simpler and straightforward if we meet the day before, sort of all virtually.
Okay.
3rd is fine for me.
Good. Rachel? You okay?
Yes, is that November the 3rd, Chair? Sorry, I didn't hear.
It's November the 3rd.
Yeah, that's fine, Chair.
And should we say what time? 10 o'clock? Everybody happy with 10 o'clock? Well,
Yeah.
what we'll do,
Sure.
An invitation will come to you now as a reminder, and it'll go on the calendar as a Zoom meeting or Teams meeting.
Teams.
Okay. That will be better for me, so thank you very much. And I know now that Rhys is going to be very happy. Said my head back. Right, carry on.
The Scrutiny Chairs and Vice Chairs group met last Thursday. They considered a number of requests for items to come to scrutiny, and one of them has come your way, and it's to do with the North Wales Regional Partnership Board and their annual report. So that's been scheduled on for your meeting on the 16th of December. And I think that would be a useful report for you to consider, and it'll show how health and social care across North Wales are working together and for the benefit of Denbighshire as well. If you have any items you want to bring to scrutiny, please fill in that proposal form at Appendix 2. The Scrutiny Chairs and Vice Chairs group are meeting next on the 25th of November. So if you they can consider any requests then. And in Appendix 3, you've got the Cabinet Forward Work Programme, and in Appendix 4, the latest on your recent recommendations. Don't think of anything else.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Any comments on that? Anybody? No? Okay. Just to say thank you for Reese, for you sent in your service challenge. Yep. And so did Mervyn. Any comments on them?
Well, Chair, just very briefly then, a very interesting service challenge. We were just all amazed at the resilience that education and children's services had shown over the last 12 months under the leadership of Rhian and Geraint. So there weren't many key action points, but it was a very interesting meeting. And as I say, we were quite amazed as to how hard everybody in the service had worked to get us through that difficult year. So it wasn't a normal service challenge, but it was very interesting to hear everything that had been going on. So that's it really, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we do appreciate your attendance on these extra meetings. Very worthwhile, and thank you for that. And thank you for Mervyn's as well in his absence. Okay. Nothing more to say other than...
Chair, can I come in, please?
Oh, sorry, Christine.
It's just with regard to the Children's Residential Assessment Unit, the sort of the project board that me and Nicola are part of. The last update was to inform members that the contractor had gone into liquidation, putting the project on hold. The development has gone back out to tender, which closed in mid-August, and discussions are ongoing with Welsh Government with regards to funding and financial liabilities. So there is a meeting planned next Tuesday, so hopefully there will be a further update on exactly where the project is. And Betsy Cadwallader, Stakeholders Reference Group, haven't met since we last met. Again, they're meeting on Monday. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Christine. I did read about that, which is unfortunate, shall we say, really, isn't it? It's a very unfortunate thing.
Heartbreaking, yeah.
I was just thinking, I don't know whether it's possible, but I just wondered after the meeting, because it's quite a while since we meet now. I just wondered whether you could email just the members of scrutiny, just a brief summary of your meeting next Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, no problem at all.
Oh, I would appreciate that. That's in order, isn't it, Rhian? Yeah. Thank you, Christine. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
And
have you seen my message?
Thank you very much for attendance today.
Yeah, Chair, have you seen my message?
No.
No, we've had a number of technical problems this morning relating mainly to connection issues. Can we make a record of this on the minutes and have them reported to IT, please? Because we have missed parts of people's contributions.
I'm sorry,
I can record it in the minutes and certainly let IT know, but There hasn't been any problems here in County Hall, which makes me think possibly that the connections are out on the on your connections from where you're joining from.
Yeah, well, I'm having a message that my signal is unstable, but I noticed Melvin Miles had a similar problem as well. And I'm just, even if they can just give us advice as, you know, what we can do on our end, it would be useful, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Emrys, are you saying that people who wanted to join us couldn't?
No, they've been not hearing everything.
Ah, right.
But it's not. I think the problem is out on the broadband connections from where they're joining from, most probably, and not here, because there's been no.
I personally can't wait to get you all under one roof, to be honest with you, so I can make you fat with biscuits and silly chit chat.
Lovely, I'm game. When are we coming?
I know. I hope so. Christine, I've still got all those mince pies from last year. All right, bye everybody. Thanks.
Oh, thanks a lot. Take
Right,
care, everybody.
bye.